When you hear someone mention a demonic barber, your first thought is probably Sweeney Todd, but Mississippi's version actually happened, and it is one creepy story. The accounts began in 1942 as the United States was entering World War II, and they happened in the sleepy little town of Pascagoula. Ray Stevens reference. An eerie unease had begun moving through this small community as stories of a midnight visitor began to circulate. A man who was breaking into homes, not to steal anything, but to take hair from young girls as they slept. The first recorded accounts of this story came from 11-year-old Mary Briggs and 12-year-old Edna Heidel as they slept in the Our Lady of Victory's convent. They woke to find that someone had cut their hair while they were sleeping. The next morning, the law was called, bloodhounds were released, and the trail of the visitor was traced to the nearby woods, where apparently the person had escaped on a bicycle. Next came a 6-year-old girl, Carol Peaty, who also woke to find that someone had stolen some of her hair while she slept next to her twin brother, who was not disturbed. The only clue left at the scene was a sandy footprint on her wooden floor. The visits continued and picked up speed. At one point, the barber making 3 visits within the same week. One girl woke in time to catch a glimpse of the person who she describes as a short, fat man. At this time, the nearby U.S. military was enforcing something called the dim out rules, where the lights of the small city of Pascagoula had to be dimmed at night as a wartime precaution. But because of the barber's visits, the United States military relaxed its restrictions, allowing lights to be lit in order to help catch this trespasser. The sheriff and the police chief offered rewards. They issued pistol permits to volunteer deputies, and they organized searches. But still, the mysterious barber evaded all of them. The visits began to grow bolder. On the night of June 13th, someone entered the home of Mr. and Mrs. Terrell Heidelberg and beat the couple with an iron pipe while they slept. Police theorized that this was the work of the mysterious barber, but they weren't able to find any clues connecting the two. Then the visits changed again. Instead of stealing hair from young girls, the visitor for the first time stole hair from a married woman as she lay in her bed next to her sleeping husband and her 2 daughters. Mrs. R.E. Taylor of Pascagoula reported waking up to the feeling of something passing over her face, and she immediately felt an illness or a nausea, leading her to believe that chloroform had been used on her before the hair cutting. A man was arrested the very next morning, but he was soon released after police could find no connection between him and the attacks or the haircuts. The town's brief moment of relief passed, replaced with a hopeless terror. Compounding the issue, the visits changed again, with the visitor entering the homes through slits and screens, and once inside, strewing clothing and dishes all about the house. Many believe this to be the work of the very same barber, but again, no connection could be made. Finally, towards the end of the summer, the police finally caught a break, arresting 57-year-old German-educated chemist William Dolan at his home. All the pieces seemed to be there. A quantity of unknown human hair was found behind his home. He had a history of being arrested for trespassing, and he had bad blood with a local magistrate, a man who just happened to be the father of Terrell Heidelberg, the man injured in the pipe attack. The pieces all seemed to fit, with the reigning theory being that Dolan, a public German sympathizer, had created this reign of terror as a psyops campaign to impair the morale of war workers. Dolan was tried in the attacks on the Heidelberg family, and he was found guilty. But the case today technically remains unsolved. Until the day he died, Dolan argued that he was innocent of all charges and even passed a lie detector test to that end. He was also never convicted of the home invasions and the late-night haircuts. Dolan was released in 1951, and the visits from the Phantom Barber never resumed. But to this day, no one is certain what or who is responsible for that summer of 1942 in Pascagoula.